Welcome to the CompTIA A+ Prepcast presented by baremetalcyber.com. The control panel is a legacy configuration interface in Windows that still plays a critical role in system administration. Although Microsoft has introduced the Settings app in recent versions of Windows, the control panel continues to provide access to many key tools that are not yet available elsewhere. Technicians use it to manage firewall rules, user accounts, email profiles, hardware devices, and more. In Windows 10 and Windows 11, it operates alongside the Settings app, and users must understand both interfaces. The A+ Core 2 certification expects you to know where to find essential utilities and how to use them in support tasks. One of the most important areas within the control panel is the Windows Defender Firewall. This utility controls how the system handles inbound and outbound network traffic. It allows users to block or allow specific applications and services based on their behavior and associated ports or protocols. The firewall settings are divided into 3 network profiles: public, private, and domain. These profiles determine how strict the firewall should be, depending on the network environment. This tool is separate from any third-party firewall software and can be used even when other security suites are installed. Allowing an application through the Windows Defender Firewall requires using the option labeled Allow an app or feature through Windows Defender Firewall. From here, technicians can add an application manually or browse the file system to locate the executable. Once selected, the user can check which profiles the rule applies to, such as private networks or domain networks. This is especially useful when a known safe program is being blocked from accessing the Internet. Understanding how to navigate this process is critical on the exam and in daily support roles. Advanced users may configure inbound and outbound rules directly through the Windows Defender Firewall's Advanced Settings panel. These rules allow for granular control of network activity. Each rule can define the direction of the traffic, the protocol or port being used, and whether the action is to allow or block the connection. Technicians often use this interface when troubleshooting complex firewall-related issues, such as blocked services or unreachable network applications. Misconfigured rules can silently block legitimate services, so careful review of each setting is required. The User Accounts utility within Control Panel is another essential support tool. It allows technicians to create and delete local user accounts, change account types between standard and administrator, and modify credentials like passwords and usernames. It also provides access to parental control settings on systems where content restrictions or usage limits are needed. In workgroup environments, this is the primary interface for managing local user access and setting account permissions without using Active Directory or other enterprise-level tools. Credential Manager, also found under the User Accounts section, is used to store and manage saved credentials. These include usernames and passwords for shared network locations, mapped drives, remote desktop connections, and some websites. Windows and web credentials are stored in separate sections. When users report that they are being prompted for credentials every time they access a shared folder or printer, Credential Manager is one of the first places technicians should check. Removing or updating a saved credential often resolves persistent login issues. The Mail option in the control panel opens the Mail Profile Management utility for Microsoft Outlook. This tool is used to configure new profiles, assign data files, and connect email accounts. Each mail profile contains a complete set of configuration data, including the associated mailbox, personal folders, and account settings. Although most users never need to open this panel directly, technicians frequently use it when troubleshooting Outlook startup errors or repairing broken send and receive functionality. Managing Outlook profiles is especially important in support environments, where users rely on multiple email accounts or custom configurations. When a profile becomes corrupted, symptoms may include failure to launch Outlook, missing messages, or synchronization problems with Exchange or IMAP servers. Technicians often resolve these issues by creating a new mail profile and re-adding the account. It is also standard practice to back up the user's data files before deleting or recreating profiles. On the exam, this process may appear in scenario-based questions. User Account Control, or UAC, is closely tied to the user account's utility and affects how Windows handles administrative privileges. When a user tries to perform a task that requires elevated rights, a UAC prompt appears asking for permission or administrator credentials. The level of prompting can be adjusted through the UAC settings under the User Accounts section. This feature protects the system from unauthorized changes and helps prevent malware from gaining full control. The A+ certification expects familiarity with how UAC operates and how to adjust its behavior. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Control panel tools can appear in different arrangements depending on how the view settings are configured. At the top right of the control panel window, there is an option labeled View By. Users can choose category, large icons, or small icons. Category View organizes items by function, such as system and security or network and internet. Large icons and small icons list every tool alphabetically. For exam purposes, you may be asked where to find a particular setting. Knowing how to adjust the view helps you locate tools quickly under test conditions or when coaching users through navigation. Accessing the control panel can be done through several methods. One of the fastest ways is to use the Run dialog, which you can open by pressing Windows key plus R. Typing Control into the Run box launches the full control panel. You can also launch individual utilities directly, such as Control Space User Passwords 2, to manage account settings. These shortcuts are useful when the Start menu is broken or missing items, or when working in recovery or stripped-down environments. They also help experienced technicians reach tools quickly. Although the Settings app has become the default in newer versions of Windows, the control panel still plays a vital role. Many functions have moved into settings, such as display, notifications, and device pairing. However, some tools like the Mail Profile Manager, Credential Manager, and Advanced Firewall configuration remain in the control panel only. Knowing when to use settings and when to fall back to control panel is a practical support skill, and the A+ exam expects you to distinguish between these two paths. Over time, Microsoft has continued to move functionality from control panel into the settings interface. Each new release of Windows brings updates that further shift tools and categories into the new interface. However, control panel is still available and still used by many technicians and administrators. For example, many older support documents and training guides reference control panel exclusively. Despite the slow phase-out, A+ exam content still includes control panel navigation, so it remains an essential area to study. Control panel tools also link to other core system utilities. From within the System category, you can launch Device Manager, access system properties, or open the Advanced Settings panel. These tools often work together in support workflows. For instance, changing performance options or virtual memory settings requires launching through Control Panel, even in recent Windows builds. Technicians use these built-in links to streamline troubleshooting steps, especially when guiding users through multi-step tasks remotely. A practical example of using Control Panel is when a user cannot send or receive email in Outlook. After launching the Mail utility, the technician discovers that the profile is corrupted. They create a new profile, re-add the email account, and set the new profile as default. Outlook then launches successfully and sends and receives messages. This process is documented in the support ticket, along with the old profile path for reference. Profile corruption is a frequent Outlook issue, and Control Panel remains the primary repair method. Advanced settings within Control Panel are typically used by administrators and more experienced technicians. These include Services Management, Advanced Performance Options, Power Configuration Profiles, and Custom Firewall Rules. Standard users rarely access these areas. However, they are essential when tuning a system for stability, applying security policies, or managing startup behavior. The A+ exam may show screenshots or ask questions about where to find these settings, so familiarity is important. Any changes made through Control Panel can have significant security implications. Allowing an app through the firewall may expose a system to external threats. Changing account passwords may cause encryption-related issues, such as inaccessible files or unreadable email archives. Technicians should always verify the intent behind changes and explain the possible consequences to the user. Security awareness and responsible configuration behavior are part of being a professional technician. Many of the tools found in Control Panel are protected by access restrictions. Standard users are blocked from making changes to system-wide settings such as firewall rules, driver changes, or service configurations. When a standard user attempts to open one of these tools, user account control prompts for administrator credentials. This protects the integrity of the system and prevents accidental damage. Technicians must understand how these permissions work and how to guide users through appropriate escalation procedures. To summarize, the Control Panel continues to serve as a critical access point for many configuration and troubleshooting tools in Windows. Even as the Settings app gains prominence, utilities like Firewall, User Accounts, Credential Manager, and the Mail Profile tool remain essential. These tools support system access, security management, and email configuration, 3 key areas on the Core 2 exam. Mastery of Control Panel navigation and functions ensures success on the certification and better performance in real-world support roles. Thank you for listening. Please visit baremetalcyber.com for more cybersecurity information, podcasts, books, and more.